All right, let's get this rolling. Mr. Clifton's video tutorial. Mr. Clifton's video tutorial. All right, I'm back. Update. I was not in because I got my hand caught in a table saw. Highly do not recommend. Okay, just a couple cuts, and I think I broke my finger, but we'll see. I'm going to give it time and see what happens. Anyway, what I'm wanting you guys to work on is to continue to work on the lesson 2.1. Let me go to here. So I want you to go into Project Lead the Way, go into your book, and it's the second lesson 2. So not this one. Open up the second one that says Taking It to the Next Level. And you should have already done this on Monday, but you're going to go to Activity 2.1. And you should have downloaded keepmeintheloop.aia. And then you will open that up in App Inventor, and it should look like this. You should have the map. We've seen this map before. I told you we're going to see it a few times throughout the semester. I think this is the second time we've seen it. You've got a sprite, that's your bus. We've got a canvas. Here's our sprite, the school bus. We've got this horizontal arrangement on the bottom that contains 2 buttons. We've got this thing called tracing label. We'll talk about that. All right, in our blocks, this is what's given to us. And we've got some nifty, thrifty blocks here. You ready for this? Yeah, it's quite the block. I'm not a big fan. 2 years ago, they changed our lessons, and instead of teaching you how to build a procedure so you understood what a procedure was, it just gives it to you now, and I do not like that at all. Anyway, these are procedures that are already built for you. They're like shortcuts, okay? So if you've got a repetitive function, something that's going to repeat over and over inside an app, you can create a procedure, and then every time you want to run that procedure, you have a single line of code that says, hey, run that shortcut. And that's what these are. These are procedures for moving forward. These are procedures for turning left and turning right. Okay, remember when we turn, all we do is move in place. We don't actually move any blocks. We just orient ourselves and position ourselves to face a certain way. All the heavy lifting, the bulk of what we do on this app is going to be the move forward. Every time we want to travel a distance, we have to use this move forward function after we orient ourselves in the right direction. This is very involved, and you can see it's got a bunch going on here. One thing I'll just take some time to point out is this right here. It's going to trace a red line around our map. So what's going to happen is after we finally code this bus to drive to the museum, unfortunately, we can't see it drive slowly to the museum. You're going to hit start, and it's going to instantly pop up at the museum. But this line here will trace a path that shows us what path your bus took based on the code that you input. So we want to see that your path actually follows the streets. You can't jump any curbs. You can't mow down any pedestrians. This isn't GTA. So you've got to follow the actual streets. Okay, let's get right to it here. So let me go back to our book. If you scroll down a bit, you're going to go down here. I would highly recommend that you guys read through this part here where it talks about loops and App Inventor, or else you're going to be highly confused as to what these numbers mean. I'm not going to tell you. I want you guys to read that for yourselves. I will start you off a little bit and give you some hints, but I need you guys to figure out the meaning of these numbers. Doesn't take too much. If you read through this, it's very easy. All right, basically, here's the meat and potatoes of it. You're going to do these commands here to guide your bus around the map, okay? So let me get you started, and I'm going to get you started, but I'm not going to do the whole thing for you here. Once you get the knack of it, everyone should be able to show me that they can get the gist of it. All right, so everything is going to be contingent upon our start button. When we hit the start button, that's what's going to make our app run. So there's actually one only interactive feature, well, besides the reset button, that the user will do, and that's just going to hit start and see if your bus successfully drives the roads to the museum. All right, so we've got our start button, and then it shows us we need this for each number. This is a looping sequence. That's going to be in our control. So we go to the control, and here's the block that we need. It looks like it's the fourth one down from the top. We'll drag that here into our start event handler. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so it says for each number from 1 to 5 by 1. Peculiar. But let's just take a look here. So here's our bus sitting here facing up. So this is forward. Going up is forward. And if you remember on our compass, to the right is 0 degrees. That's our heading of 0 degrees. Up, straight up, in this instance would be 90 degrees. To the left would be 180 degrees. Down would be 270 degrees. All right. So let's go back here. So our book tells us we want to put some numbers in here to get the bus to move. And then we actually give it a command, whether we're turning it left or right, or whether we're moving forward. All right, so let's do that. All right, so we've got our bus here. We've got some blocks here, and we want our bus to move. How many increments do we want our bus to move, right? You got to think about that. Let me just do this. I'm going to call on the procedure. So again, this isn't going to make sense. We're now dipping into the procedure drawer. It should have walked you through creating a procedure and showing you how to create your own shortcut. That way you would understand. Then you find your blocks to run your shortcut in your procedure drawer. But we're going to ask this to run forward this time. All right. So I'm going to pull this up here. I'm going to go back to, let's see if I can do this with some finesse. And we'll go back to here. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the app on my phone. Whoops. I've got to scan the QR code. So let me do this really quick. So I'm just going to test out what I've got. All right. Let me run by account. All right. So waiting for it to load. Oh boy. Okay. So there's our app. This is really hard to see. This is not the ideal situation with my broken finger. All right, I'm going to try and press the start button, and we'll see what happens over here. Okay, so you can see our bus moved up, and there's a red line behind it. But what's this? I'm on the curb. Let me try and hold this steady. I want the bus to run on the road. Now, here's a hint. Our bus is starting out in the wrong spot. So let me go back to here. So our bus is starting off in the wrong spot, right? So what we need to do first, and here's your one big hint, and I'm going to leave you on your own, is we need to orient the bus, or at least position it at the starting gate at the school. Now when it goes up, it'll move along the road. And if you noticed, my blocks 1 to 5 by 1 moved this bus one too many blocks far. I wanted it to move 4 blocks, but it moved 5 blocks. Peculiar. How could I change that block so that it only goes 4 spaces? All right. Anyway, once we complete that first shift, I then want to tell that bus how to turn. If my bus gets to here successfully, I want it to turn this way, which is a left turn. So I'm going to go back to my procedures drawer, and I'm going to add this outside of the loop, underneath the loop, and say, hey, now after completing this loop sequence, I want you to turn left. And then I need to add another one of these. I could duplicate this, or I could go back to my control drawer and grab another one out and add it here. And now I need to go back to here and say, okay, if my bus is on this position, or on this space, I need to move forward 2 spots. So I then need to edit these numbers to make it move 2 spots. And then I need to tell it to move forward here. And then outside of that, we'll make another turn. And you'll keep stacking these to get your bus to the museum. It doesn't matter whether you go the northern route or the southern route. It's completely up to you. But we're just trying to get you guys to move to the museum. I have faith in you guys that you should be able to do this based on that information there, or even if you just read through it on Monday. But yeah, so that's where you're at. That's what I'd like you guys to do. So on Wednesday, I would like to see that you guys were able to make sure you've downloaded the AIA file, started it up in MIT App Inventor, and then started building your blocks. Everyone should have been able to guide it to the museum, but at least show me a good faith effort for a grade. If you got nothing to show for it, I can't give you anything for your grade. So let's be good about that. Let's not waste time in class. Remember, those grades for a substitute have to be done on the day of the substitute, or else you can't make it up. All right. So I guess we'll end it there. You guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys on Wednesday with all 10 fingers intact.